Hey everyone, okay, this is video number 2. I'm wearing different clothes because it's the next day. Also early in the morning, so my voice is still a little groggy. Let's jump right into it. So, continuing with Texas, from where we left off in the last video, what's the status on the compliance officer, 1, and 2, will Argo Blockchain have a dedicated team in Texas? So the second question, yes, we will have a dedicated team in Texas. There'll be obviously the team on the ground that's running the data center, but we will also, our VP of Business Development, Justin Nolan, who joined the team a few months ago, who's been doing a great job organizing all the Texas pieces, will be based in Texas as well. And then we'll add some pieces along the way. I think you'll see our team growing as we grow larger as a company. That's kind of to be expected. But the goal is for us to always kind of be as lean as we can be. What's the status on the compliance officer? We've hired a compliance officer. They're doing a great job. And that's an important piece for us, on the regulatory side. Extra Ball, at Extra Balls. Thanks for your question, Extra Ball. You've asked a few questions before. Super interested in developments from Argo. 3 from me. 1, Texas. That's a big plot. Planning any solar generation. 2, what's the future of proof of work? 3, have you met Jesse Morris, Energy Web? If not, why not? So number 1, Texas is a big plot, planning any solar generation. Obviously the power that we're going to be getting, we've said before, is going to be coming from the grid. That being said, never say never. If there's opportunities for, behind the fence, power generation from solar or other opportunities, we would definitely look at them. 2, what's the future of proof of work? It's interesting right now because there is this, this debate going on, or this discussion going on about Bitcoin's energy usage, about the usage of proof of work in general. I think that there is room for both proof of work and proof of stake and potential other consensus mechanisms as we move forward. It's a big ecosystem. There's room for lots of different coexistence. Proof of work is very valuable because it's anchored in the real world with real facilities and real energy and real capital. And that makes Bitcoin heavier and steadier. And that's why Bitcoin has been around as long as it's been. Bitcoin is not going to be moving away from, proof of work anytime soon. That, cat is out of the bag, the plane is in the air, you're not going to change the engine. And we feel like there's value in proof of work. I think the key for proof of work is to move to renewables, because then it takes this kind of energy FUD, the power out of the energy FUD discussion, but also because it's the right thing to do. It's good for the planet. It's a good business decision. It aligns with our company values. So in short, proof of work not going away. The key is for it to be powered by renewables. Number 3, Jesse from Energy Web and I have been working closely together with the Crypto Climate Accord. We were, I think, as everyone knows, the first signatories with DMG, and we helped kind of shape or reshape the objectives a little bit with Jesse. He's been a great guy to work with, super collaborative, lots of great ideas, and the Energy Web project is super interesting, and we're talking to them very frequently. I was just on a panel this past week as well with Jesse, so I know Jesse fairly well. Nikki Lambert, I'm going to try to go without the glasses and just read a little bit blurry. At Nice Deep Breath, love the videos, not a question, but a thanks to the people behind the team taking care of the domestic side so you can all work on Argo. Thank you to all the Mrs. Argos or Mr. Argos. Thank you, Nikki. That's really nice. Certainly I can say and I don't want to speak for my teammates, but from my perspective, the last 6 months especially have been really hectic. It feels like I've been in training for the Olympics or something. It's been super long days. So I really appreciate, my family's support and my wife's support. And I haven't been, doing the dishes or cooking dinner as much as I used to, for sure. So it's good to, have, it takes a village, to raise a child, and it takes a family and a community to when you're in these intense periods of work, to support the work that's being done. So hopefully life will at some point, continue or return to a little bit more normal, because it's been super hectic lately, but it's been really fun. Obviously the company's been on this great trajectory, and we're all pleased with the way it's going. What do they say? You can sleep during the bear market. All right, next question. At W at W Breakout. Hey, Peter, excellent work. Thank you, W. How can Argo benefit from the mining bans in China? I read there could be ready mining machines that could come on the market at a discount because of the China ban. Does this have a potential to translate to capacity quickly? Just translate to quick capacity for us. So what's happening in China is obviously very interesting. So just the synopsis is, the government has been cracking down on various mining regions where there's been cryptocurrency mining powered by coal. Again, the same similar discussion that's happening in other parts of the world, including in North America. There's a resistance to mining Bitcoin with fossil fuels. In China, there's probably a few other kind of things going on at the same time, in terms of the central government's take on cryptocurrency. So how does that affect Argo? I think it affects Argo in two ways. One, it makes the capacity that we're building in North America, the facility in Texas with 200 megawatts with a capacity up to 800 megawatts, even more valuable, to be really the captain of our own ship, because what we're seeing is that hosting in North America with other, folks is getting the price is going up. It's getting very competitive. It's hard to find space. So having your own space is very important. And then obviously it gives, an opportunity to then look at, the price of machines in general, kind of across the market, we have seen coming down, and that's public knowledge. The dollar per terahash is coming down because there's just more machines on the market as miners are looking to exit from China. And we hope that trend continues. And in terms of how that affects us, obviously it's a good thing when there's more machines available at a better price. So thanks, W. It's an interesting time and a good question. All right, David Turan at David B. Turan asks thoughts on the news coming from El Salvador. And Lal M. Shiz, one of our favorites, asks when geothermal volcano mining in El Salvador. Look, El Salvador, super interesting. I think it's a watershed moment for Bitcoin. The fact that we're having this conversation again about Bitcoin, not just as a store of value, but also as a viable currency and as a medium of exchange, which we're seeing in El Salvador. The group at Bitcoin Beach has done, great work in pushing that narrative and that adoption of Bitcoin. Jack Mahler's been down there and been involved, with his team at Strike. So it's super interesting, and the fact that the El Salvadorian president has taken these steps and is pushing things forward is obviously just really interesting. And does it mean now that Bitcoin will be, more dominoes will fall and Bitcoin will be a legal tender in other countries? We've seen other countries in Latin America kind of signaling that they would also be potentially, or at least by, the way in which their politicians have been turning their eyes, putting on laser eyes on Twitter, that there's potentially future adoption happening in other places in Latin America. So I think it's significant. I think it's been interesting. It hasn't been super well covered in the mainstream mainstream media. It's been kind of like, kind of ignored, or at least, looked at as a bit of a sideshow. But I think we're obviously watching it closely in terms of volcano mining. I mean, why not? Look, geothermal power is real. It's a great source of renewable power. And, they've been using it in Iceland. The advantage in Iceland, obviously, is that it's colder weather. And so there's, you can use air cooling. But with the advent of immersion technology, it's much more feasible now to mine in warmer parts of the globe, in warmer climates than it was even a year or two ago. So large-scale immersion is coming. We're obviously at the forefront of that with our facility in Texas. If there's folks who are looking for cheap geothermal, and El Salvador is offering it up, I'm sure it will happen. I think it's really interesting. Luis Cervantes asks, Captain Pete, which series episode was most significant for Argo and why? Thank you, Luis. So at Luis Serve 85. So Luis is asking about the Argo documentary, which we put out a couple weeks ago. I hope some of you watched it. If you haven't, it's on our YouTube page, and you can take a look. For me, I love the way the series turned out. I thought it was great. And I thought Perry and Seb, were really smart, and it was nice to introduce kind of Sebastian Seb to the world, because he's been such a key part of the team with Argo going back to 2018. My favorite episode was chapter 2 about the hustle. I was titled The Hustle, because that's what I think has been one of the ingredients to our success, is that we've been hustling and we've been working hard, and I think we've got to continue on that path and continue to push and continue to try to move everything forward. So yeah, that was the episode that I liked the best. And we've like kind of looking back and watching that documentary reminds us that we're only a few years into this. It's still really early, and we have to kind of keep that startup mentality and that hustle mentality moving forward. We can't get complacent. We can't, sit back on our laurels. There's just a ton of work to do. And certainly I feel that, on a daily and weekly basis, and I hope our team does too. Continuing on the Perry theme, Connor Huckle at Posh and Stocks. Captain Pete, what are the plans for at Perry HT, Perry Hottie, once we have Texas up and running? How will we distribute his ingeniousness across both our Canada and Texas sites? Also, will he require an apprentice? Once Texas, Perry is overseeing the immersion design for Texas. He's done an incredible job of coming up and with a plan and putting all the pieces together. And so he's going to be managing, that process, and he's so great at that. He designed some of the early machines back in 2018 that we installed in Quebec. And so, he's got now almost 10 years of experience in mining, knows the space really well, has done a deep dive on immersion, probably deeper than anyone else. And he'll continue to, do what he does in both Canada and Texas. He'll be based in Canada. One of the things about Perry, he's got everything set up remotely so he can manage things from wherever he is. He also has a team, Abdul and other folks that he's managing the machines with, either at the data center or working remotely as well. So we'll take that same kind of combination of on the ground, on site management with remote work, and build out the team as needed. I like where our team is. We've got, some other opportunities that we're looking at, and I think having a really solid, connected team is very important to us. We're a team of kind of multitaskers, but also very specialized in certain areas, and Perry's a great fit for that. And again, going back to that documentary question, I think, if you haven't watched it, it's great to watch the film, because I think Perry really comes across as who he is, which is awesome. Thanks, Connor. Umesh Gowda at Alchemist 19. As for Perry, is it possible to get him on board for Q&A sessions so that he can tell us his journey from being a doc to being the brain behind running all of those Argo machines efficiently? Curious to know his journey of him changing gears from being a doc to a miner. So I actually just asked Perry this morning if he would do it, and he responded and said he would. So we will do a Q&A session with Perry like this in the future. We'll have to figure out the exact timing, but Umesh, I think it's a great idea, and Perry's got a great story. So we'll spin up Laura and the Twitter feed, and we'll figure that out when the time is right. But thank you for the idea. I like it. Sanchez K at Sanchez LFC. Hey Peter, with strong market sentiment towards ETH flipping BTC, how easy would it be to start mining Ethereum? So obviously the machines that you use to mine Ethereum are different than the machines you use to mine Bitcoin. We've always said we're opportunistic miners. We obviously love Bitcoin. It's the granddaddy. It's, it's our main source of revenue. But if there was an opportunity to mine Ethereum, we wouldn't say no. How easy would it be to start mining Ethereum? You would need either, a GPU farm or like machines that are built with GPUs, or there are now ASICs that are coming out that are focused on Ethereum mining. Then the question is, how deep do you want to go into Ethereum mining, considering the, transition or the possible transition to proof of stake coming ahead? It's a good question. And in, the community, there's a debate about how quickly proof of stake can actually happen. We've been hearing about proof of stake going back 3 years, that it was, just around the corner. So there's some skepticism that it'll happen as quickly as again, it's like 6 months away, and it always seems to be 6 months away. So I do think that there's a good period of time where Ethereum mining will still be profitable and still will be worth looking at. But again, it depends on, access to machines and all of those other factors. So it's an interesting question. And I think, again, that Ethereum and Bitcoin can coexist very easily. I think they have different uses, different use cases. Ethereum is obviously on the application side. Bitcoin is on the security integrity side. And so again, there's no reason you can't have both in your portfolio as a miner. Vic and Dan. Hi, Peter. Great work as always. Congrats and thanks to you and the team. Do you have concerns that recent volatility in Bitcoin caused by comments and tweets from certain individuals could become commonplace? Or is your view that the effect of these will lessen over time? Thank you, Vic and Dan, for the question. I think I answered this in the last set of questions a bit yesterday as well. Yeah, I think it's the second piece. I think that over time, people, I think there was a lot of newcomers onto the Bitcoin, train in the last 3 or 4 months. And I think that it takes a little while to get used to some of the volatility and some of the FUD that comes out, and you might get a little nervous early on. But what I've seen over the last 3 years, over the last 7 years, over the last 8 years is that, that volatility is kind of part of the process. And, whether it's tweets from certain individuals or other factors, over time, what I've seen is that Bitcoin continues to be Bitcoin and continues to appreciate over time with obviously some ups and downs. So, the volatility equals vitality. I do believe that. There's so much energy in the space right now. There's so much, great developments that are taking place, obviously on the mining side, but also on the developer side and the adoption side. So I think, quarters and years, not days and weeks. And it's becoming a bit of a cliche for me to say that, but I do feel that way. Scottman72 I'm going to use my glasses here, at PSN Scottman72. There are lots of uses of blockchain concepts and technology outside of cryptocurrency. Has Argo looked at investments in these areas, or is more in line with Pluto's investment strategies? Thank you, Scottman72, for your question and for your Twitter energy. Obviously, Argo is focused on mining. We're focused on building out Texas, but we also have this other kind of side of the equation that we're looking at. And we've made investments into Pluto. We've made investments into Luxor. We've made a small investment into WonderFi, which we announced recently. And then we also have our own internal team having discussions about, what we're calling digital infrastructure or digitally native infrastructure. So if you think about mining being physical infrastructure to support, blockchain networks, DeFi and Web 3.0 and validator nodes is digitally native or digital infrastructure to support other consensus mechanisms like proof of stake or proof of space or these other, mechanisms that are out there. And we want to be able to play in both spaces. We want to play in both spaces, both, internally and develop our own expertise and our own, team, and also externally as an investor into projects, like Luxor, like WonderFi, like Pluto. So we're always looking for opportunities in those two different worlds. And that's why we look at ourselves as a blockchain technology company and not just as a straight miner. All right, next question. The Bullish Bear at Simon Costin. Great name, Simon. Hey, Captain Pete, thanks for you and the team's hard work. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Yes, thank you. True. 1, what cryptocurrencies do you personally hold? 2, we see Argo diversifying into DeFi with recent acquisitions. Do you see any other string added to the bow? So 1, cryptocurrencies I personally hold, obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum. I have some VeChain, some Solana. I have some Binance coin. What else? I probably have a slew of about 10 to 15 coins. And I'm not a trader. I just essentially, have coins and hold them. And that's my kind of long-term with the majority being obviously in Bitcoin. Maybe that's not obvious, but anyways, that's the case. Two, we see Argo diversifying in DeFi. So yeah, so we've seen really those are the two pieces for Argo. One is mining, and two is this digital infrastructure or digitally native infrastructure. In terms of other pieces being added, we're always looking for opportunities, but there's nothing I can really talk about right now. But I like the question, and I'm going to start using that other string being added to the bow. I think that's clever. Drew at Drew4108648888, particularly in terms of other cryptocurrencies that are setting the stage. Example: Ethereum, Polkadot, Cardano. Will Argo choose to do proof of stake? And if so, do you believe Bitcoin's proof of work system? If so, why? Thank you, Argo. So I just talked a lot about proof of work. I don't think it's going anywhere. Will Argo choose to do proof of stake? I've said, we're looking obviously to be supportive of other, projects in the ecosystem and to be good actors in that space. So that's what Pluto is doing. That is what WonderFi is doing. Next question, Rupert at Warm the Cockles. What keeps you awake at night? Oh, good question, Rupert. So I think it's less about, I actually sleep pretty well. When I go to bed, I'm tired, I fall asleep. I think it's less about what keeps me awake and what wakes me up. And what wakes me up is normally early morning calls. Obviously live in Canada, we're traded in the UK. It's often either with media or with, other folks. There's sometimes when I have to wake up at 4 or 5 and do a call, into the UK, which is fine. And then obviously when I wake up in the morning, I always look at, the price of Bitcoin. I check, how our share price is doing, and what's going on in the space in general. So that's kind of how I start my morning, like wake up and then okay, where are we at? Because, obviously Bitcoin always trades. The market in London opens as I'm sleeping. So when I wake up, there's always news and there's always things to jump into right away. Thank you for the question, Rupert. Okay, that's it. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for the questions. I really appreciate all of the energy and the engagement that we have with all of you out there. And looking forward to doing it again next month. For now, onwards and upwards.